What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Footy with an Edge. Manchester United have just beaten Everton 2-0 in a game that should have been 7 or 8-1 to United. We dominated the possession. We created 24 chances as a team with 2.19 expected assists and 3.47 XG. But somehow, we only scored 2 goals. Make that make sense. It was a little disappointing to see us be this wasteful in front of goal against a terrible Everton side, but I suppose the silver lining is that at least we created those chances in the first place, as opposed to the Brentford game where chances were hard to come by. And the best part about this week is that we took 6 points from 6, kept 2 clean sheets, and of course continued having the best defensive record in the league at home. Of course, there's really only one player worth talking about today, and I'm sure you've already guessed who that is by the title and the thumbnail of the video. But before we do that, we're going to talk through Ten Hag's tactics to see how things changed from the Brentford game. As always, please drop a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. And don't forget to drop in on the live streams that we are doing on the channel now. We started with our very first tactical watch along with this game today. And shout out to those of you that were there the whole time, like Giblix, Not Rick Astley, Old Hunter, Suelo Pele Seleka, Bardo Costenz, Nix, Sarat, and the only Everton fan in the chat, Sin MN. You guys made it incredibly fun for me today, and I hope more of you can come join the streams to catch some live tactical analysis and ask me questions. So Erik ten Hag started in his standard 4-2-3-1 but played in a hybrid 2-4-1-3 in possession that looked like this. In this shape, you had Rashford through the middle with Sancho and Antony on the wings next to him. And by the way, this meant that for the second straight game, Wout Weghorst was benched and the team actually looked a lot better because of it. Let me know in the comments down below if you agreed that we're better off without Wout. Then behind the front three, you had Sabitzer playing in the pocket in a bit of a free role, and we talked about his strengths in the last video after the Brentford game, as he's the type of number 10 that thrives on making these runs off the striker into these channels on the left and right hand side to make space for the striker, and likewise he also requires the players around him to kind of make off the ball runs to get him into spaces where there are shooting opportunities. So while he did make those off the ball runs to make space for others, there was nobody really making space for him, which meant that he struggled to get into the game today. Then we come into the midfield four of the two fullbacks, Bruno and McTominay, and this is where the hybrid portion of the 2-4-1-3 comes in. To explain this, I'm going to show you Ten Hag's 3-3-1-3 so we understand what Ten Hag prefers to do with his best 11. And then we can come back here to fully comprehend how Ten Hag made it work with this formation today. So this is Ten Hag's preferred 3-3-1-3, where you have the front three of Martial, Rashford, and Antony. Then in the pocket behind them, you have Bruno playing in a free role where his sole focus is chance creation in the third phase of play. So he usually operates at the edge of the box, whether it's on the left wing, right wing, or through the middle, in order to create chances for the front three in front of him or any runners from midfield like usually Shaw or Dalot do. Then you have the midfield three of Casemiro plus the two fullbacks, who usually operate as inverted fullbacks in these inside spaces here, but they also have the freedom to overlap their wingers when needed. And then you have Eriksen from midfield dropping into the back three to help with the first and second phases of build-up, where he's picking up the ball from the center backs, moving it into midfield, and maybe also moving it into attack. Now let's talk some football philosophy here. Because much like other great modern managers, Ten Hag loves players that offer tactical and positional fluidity, and he likes his players to be press resistant, so they have to be good dribblers and passers in tight spaces. So when you actually watch the back six that you have here, the two banks of three, they often interchange positionally with each other, and you'll see Luke Shaw drop into Eriksen's role where Eriksen drops into midfield, or even Casemiro drop into the back three with Shaw dropping into central defensive midfield. So that means either one of these three players can drop into that back line and help with the first phase of build-up. And likewise on the other side, Dalot will often drop deeper to allow Varane to make those runs into the midfield, and sometimes you'll actually see Varane interchange with Antony and even get into these spaces on the edge of the box. And other times Varane stays back while Martinez does the same thing in midfield. Now the benefit of this is quite obvious. This type of movement makes it very difficult for the opposition to mark your ball carriers because they keep changing. And it's also difficult to cut off passing angles because different players are moving off the ball in different possessions. But the reason that this is even possible in this side is because Eriksen, Luke Shaw, Casemiro, and Dalot are all good progressive passers. So they have that ability to drop from midfield into defense and do the first phase of build-up. And they're also good at moving it from defense into the forward line with long balls in behind for the forwards. So this skill set of the back 6 players, so to speak, allows our front 4 and specifically Bruno Fernandes to stay engaged in the final phase of build-up, because these guys don't really have to worry about dropping deep to pick up the ball. Now that we know all of this, let's go back to the team from today and identify the differences from Ten Hag's preferred system that we just saw here. We have Tyrell Malacia instead of Luke Shaw in defense, who's not as press resistant or as good a progressive passer as Shaw. We have Wan-Bissaka instead of Dalot in defense, who's not as press resistant or as good a progressive passer as Dalot. And we have McTominay instead of Casemiro, who's not as good as Casemiro in any aspect of the game, whether it's on the ball or off the ball. And finally, we have Bruno Fernandes instead of Eriksen, who so far is the only player that is as good as, if not better than, the player he's replacing from Ten Hag's preferred system. So what does this mean? This means that today, in this system compared to our preferred system, Bruno Fernandes was playing the roles of 5 different players. 5 different players. And as always, you don't have to take my word for it, because I have one clip that'll show you every role that Bruno played today. We start with Martinez on the ball near the center circle, and he's about to pass it to Bruno in sort of the left back or left center back area. As Bruno receives it, he waits for Malacia to get into this space over here and plays it off to him to move the ball forward. And this is the first phase of build-up where he's moving the ball from defense into midfield. As Malacia receives the ball, we see Everton defense and midfield shifting backwards to try to get back into position. As Malacia dribbles forward a bit more, he has Sancho in front of him who can receive the ball, but Malacia sees this space in midfield that's been vacated by Gay trying to press him in this area, so he's about to play it into Sabitzer. But the ball from Malacia gets intercepted, and Coleman actually manages to clear the ball out from here, as we'll see in a second. And as that happens, we can see a ton of space in central areas because the Everton midfield has dropped off completely. As we play along, that clearance gets intercepted by Bruno in the central area here, and he's actually moved from where he was at left back into this space to pick up the ball. And as you guys know, if Casemiro was playing in this team, this would be Casemiro picking up the ball here, so Bruno's kind of doing the number 6 duties. As we play along, Bruno notices Antony in space on the right wing, and he's about to dink a ball into him over here. And this is kind of the second phase of build-up where the ball goes from midfield into the final third into one of our forwards. So Bruno plays the ball and is ready to move into the right wing, right midfield type of area to provide a safe passing option to Antony in case he gets into trouble over here. And this is particularly relevant because we know that Wan-Bissaka likes to make those inverted runs to the edge of the box from here to this area here. So there needs to be someone supporting Antony in this area. So as Antony gets on the ball, we see Wan-Bissaka making the run between McNeil and Ben Godfrey to pull Ben Godfrey out of position, while Bruno's happy to get into the support position that we described earlier. As soon as McNeil gets tight to Antony and Onana drops off of Bruno from this area, Antony plays it back to Bruno, who now has the ball on the right wing at the edge of the box. And as we very well know from Bruno's skill set, he can easily put a cross into the box from this spot to be involved in the final third. So there you have it. In the space of 20 in-game seconds, Bruno has gone from left back to central midfield to the right wing, contributing to all 3 phases of play for Erik ten Hag's team. Is there anything this man cannot do? Even if we look at the stats behind his performance today, you'll see what we just saw from the eye test. The number 10 Bruno that we know usually has good production in front of goal with decent XG and XA, which he had with a combined 0.75 XG and XA today. He also usually has a decent shot volume, which he had with 4 shots today, high chance creation, which he had with 6 chances created today, high set piece volume, which he had with 9 corners taken. On top of all this, he had 119 touches and 86% pass accuracy, which is what you expect from a traditional number 6 like Rodri or Thomas Partey, as even Casemiro struggles to give you this level of pass accuracy. He also had 14 passes into the final third and 8 accurate long balls, which is what you expect from a number 8 like Eriksen with his passing distribution. And do you guys know, what is the cherry on top of the icing on top of an already impressive cake. Bruno Fernandes was dispossessed 0 times today. Do you know how crazy it is to have 119 touches, create 6 chances for your team, have 4 shots on goal, and not miscontrol the ball once in 90 minutes? We've all seen Eriksen and Casemiro play in that deep role over the season, and we can all remember different times at which these players have given the ball away. But Bruno Fernandes is different gravy, man. I get it, Everton wasn't great today, but to not get dispossessed even once, that's impressive. Now, I'm going to say something that might sound weird, but Bruno is like the mother of this team, always there to feed his kids goals and assists no matter how bad they've been, and providing whatever this team needs, whether it's progressive passing, ball rotation, ball retention, or defensive work rate. I know this was a bit of a Bruno Fernandes appreciation video, but it needed to be done. We have to remember performances like these when this guy has a bad game. And that applies to me too, because look, Bruno can frustrate the hell out of me when he keeps giving the ball away. But we have to realize that he does this because he's trying to do the right thing, and he's trying to force goals and assists in a team that doesn't necessarily create those things. And we have to realize how special this guy is while he still plays for our club. And before I go, I thought Sancho, McTominay, and Aaron Wan-Bissaka all had amazing games today, while Eriksen and Martial looked really good off the bench as well. With Casemiro also returning to the first 11 against Sevilla midweek, we're very, very close to having a full strength starting 11 for the end of the season, and I can almost smell Ten Hag doing a madness by winning 2 more trophies and getting into the top 4. Smash a like on the video if you agree with me, subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.